Hi friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little dice bag. It's got some granny square ends for the drawstring. I decided to make this pattern because I needed a good dice pouch and I couldn't really find one with a flat bottom that I could just have sitting on the table while I'm playing my games with them. And this one is pretty nice because whenever you open it up, of course I made the strings pretty long, you can always make them shorter, but I have mine tied around twice. And yeah, it just sits really nicely. You can have it opened up and just sitting on the table while you're playing and just reach in and grab your die. And it's just super easy and cute. So that's what I'm going to be showing you how to make today. Let's go ahead and get started. So for this project, I recommend any cotton yarn just because it holds up really well and it's not as stretchy as acrylic. But I mean, you probably could use acrylic and it would probably be fine, but I used cotton for mine. I like this Peaches and Cream or Lily Sugar and Cream, I think is the brand that I used for the other dice bag. But for today, we're going to be using the Peaches and Cream yarn. This is a worsted weight cotton yarn. I do believe, yeah, it's 100% cotton in the color red. It recommends a 5mm crochet hook, but today I'm going to be using a 4mm just to get the stitches a little bit tighter, which is also a G. And then the other materials you're going to need for this project is a good darning needle and a good pair of scissors. All right, so now that we have everything we need, let's go ahead and get started on this cute little dice bag. So the first thing that we're going to do is make a magic ring. There are a lot of different ways to do this, but I'll go ahead and show you the way I do it. So you take the yarn in your hand like this, and then you wrap your bottom 2 fingers around it. You're going to flip your hand over and cross it over once, and then twice to make an X on the back of your fingers. And then I put the yarn in between my pinky and my ring finger. Then we're going to take our crochet hook. We're going to go underneath the top loop of the X, if you can get in there, and grab this back loop and pull it through with a twist. So now we've got it like this, and we're going to grab this yarn over here that our pinky's holding on to and make a chain 1 just to really secure that loop, and then you can take your fingers out. So there's our magic ring, or magic loop, whatever you want to call it. And now we're going to chain 2. So there's 1 and 2, which is technically 3 with our first chain there. And that is going to count as our first double crochet of the round. So we're going to do 11 double crochets into this ring, and that will give us a total of 12 counting this chain. So to double crochet, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook underneath both loops, the tail and the ring, and pull it up. Then you're going to pull through 2 loops and then pull through the last 2 loops, just like that. So now you technically have 2 double crochets, and we need 10 more. So we're going to yarn over again, insert your hook and pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops, and then pull through 2 loops again. And we're going to do that 9 more times. So I'll meet you back when you have 12 double crochet total, counting this chain. Okay, so this is how it should be looking once you have your 12 double crochets done. I'm going to go ahead and pull my hook out a little, or sorry, pull the yarn up a little and pull my hook out. And then we're going to count just to make sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and pull our tail through so it's not twisted anymore. And we're going to go ahead and pull that tight. And it should close up your ring. I'm going to go ahead and pull, oop, not that one. I'm going to pull a little bit more. You can pull pretty hard. There we go. Depending on what kind of yarn you're using. Have to be careful with those sometimes. But it should be looking like this once it's all closed up. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my hook back in my loop here. And now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the top of our chain 2. So you want to be careful here not to skip it. So it's a little easier if you turn it to the side, and then you can kind of see there's 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain that we made at the beginning. So to slip stitch, you're going to insert through the stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through the other loop on your hook. Then you can pull it tight. So now we have a closed circle. So now we're going to chain 2 again. There's 1 and 2. And now we're going to keep doing double crochets around, but we're going to increase in every stitch this time. So we're going to go yarn over and into the same stitch that our chain 2 is coming out of, and put 1 more double crochet in there. And then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and put 2 double crochets in that one. And we're going to repeat this in every stitch all the way around until you get back to your chain 2. So I'll meet you back once you get there. So now that we've increased all the way around, this is what it should be looking like. And you want to make sure not to accidentally double crochet into that slip stitch there that connected our first round. And to double check, you should have 24 stitches total this round, counting your chain. The chain will always count as a double crochet in this pattern. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 2 again. So we're going to take this top chain here. So there's 1 and 2. I kind of snagged my yarn a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to go through there, pull up a loop, and then pull it through, tighten it down. Now we're going to chain 2 again. Now for row number 3, we're going to be double crocheting into the back loop only. So if you look at the top of your stitches, like if you turn it on its side kind of, you can see that we have let me take my hook out. So you can kind of see that we have this front V facing us and this one in the back. And you can see it goes all the way around, 2 lines on each side. We're going to be going only into this back loop like that, all the way around with just 1 double crochet in each stitch, but I'll go ahead and do a few with you. So we're going to yarn over. We're not going to go into that stitch that our chain is coming out of because that counts as our double crochet and we're not increasing this round. So we're going to move over to the next one and we're going to do 1 double crochet into the back loop. And then we're going to just continue going into the back loop all the way around, 1 double crochet into each stitch. Just like that. And you can see it's going to kind of make them tilt that way, which is what we want because we want this to sit flat. So go ahead and do your double crochets in the back loop only all the way around, and I'll meet you back at our chain 2. So I've crocheted around to our chain 2 space, and yours might be flipping the wrong way right now. It's okay. We're going to flip it in a minute. But now that we've made it back around here, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of our chain 2 again. There we go. And then pull that tight and we'll go ahead and chain 2. But before we continue to the next round, now is a really good time to go ahead and weave in this end that's coming out of our magic ring because it'll be a little hard to get to later, like once we flip it this way and start building the bag up. So now is a really good time to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and weave mine in really quick. And the way I like to do it is just to make sure it's still pulled really nice and tight since you've been working on it. And then go ahead and thread your needle. And I like to just go skip a few strands and go back and forth around the loops. Might be a little tight, but that's okay. And then we'll just pull that through and just keep going around. Once I've gone one direction a good amount of stitches, I'll skip a few and go back the other way. And just keep doing that until you feel like it's secure. If you have your own way of weaving in ends, that's totally fine. Once I feel like it's secure, I'm going to go ahead and pull it a little bit and take my scissors and trim it off. Oop, need to sharpen my scissors. And now that that tail is weaved in, we can go ahead and flip it the right way. And this will be the bottom of our bag. So now we're going to keep building it out this way, so it'll be taller. So now we're going to start row number 4, which we've already done our chain 2. So we're going to put our hook back in if you took it out. And we are just going to double crochet all the way around in both loops. So we'll go into the next stitch, double crochet, and into the next stitch, double crochet, and we're going to repeat that all the way around, and we're going to keep doing this for rows 4 through row 9. So for 6 rows, just double crochets, or really just as tall as you want your bag to be. but I did mine for a total of 9 rows. So go ahead and build your bag up as tall as you want it to be, and I'll meet you back then to show you how to do the drawstring and finish it off. Okay, so I've just made it to row 9, and this is what it should be looking like. It's pretty nice and tall compared to my hand. It's got the flat bottom there. And I've just joined with a slip stitch to end the round for row 9. So now I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and grab my scissors. We're going to leave a good tail to weave in. Go ahead and cut off your yarn and pull through. Now we can take our tapestry needle and weave in that end. And the way I like to do this one is to go behind the next stitch from the back, pull it down, and then go through the chain 1, the front loop. There we go. And that just joins it nicely, a little more even. So now I'm going to stick this through to the back side and weave in the end in here. I just like to unroll mine a little bit, just enough so I have enough stitches to weave it in. But you can weave it in however you normally do. But I'm just going to do basically the same thing we did for the magic circle and just weave it a bunch of different directions until I think it's secure enough. And whenever you feel good about that, you can go ahead and cut that end off. There we go. And now we have the body of our bag complete. So now all it needs is the drawstring. So let's go ahead and make that. Okay, so to make our drawstring, I'm going to do granny squares on the end again. You could really do any design you want if you didn't want granny squares on the end. You could just make that applique or shape and then just do the chain around. But I'm going to show you how to do the granny squares. So we're going to make a magic ring again. So go ahead and do that. Have our X on the back of our fingers, under and over and twist, and then secure it with a chain. So now that we have our magic ring, we are going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we are going to do 2 double crochets into this ring. So that's one side of our square. So now we're going to make the corner by chaining 2. Then we're going to do 3 more double crochets. So now we have 2 sides and 1 corner, so we're going to chain 2 again for our second corner. 3 more double crochets. Now we need 1 more side and 2 more corners, so we're going to chain 2 and do our last side with 3 more double crochets. And if it gets really stretched out like this, you can pull on your tail a little bit to give you a bit of a smaller circle to work with. So there's 2 and 3. So now we have 4 sides for our square and just need 1 more corner. So we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 2 over here. So ignoring that first one, we're going to slip stitch to the top of the second chain. Really the third chain. That's kind of confusing, I'm sorry. So now it should look something like this. And we're going to go ahead and untwist the end of our magic loop and pull it through to the back, or you can pull it this way. I just think it's easier to untwist it first. And I'm going to pull a loop up and take my hook out just so it's a little easier. I'm going to flip it over and pull my magic ring shut. Like magic. Okay. And these ones don't like to stay too tight with this yarn until you weave it in, but that's okay. So here's our first little square. Very cute, very tiny. We're only doing one row since these squares are pretty small, as you can see from the other bag. Okay, so from here I'm going to go ahead and put my hook back in the loop and pull it tight. So we just joined with the slip stitch, and now we're going to go ahead and chain 40. But like I was saying, this is going to be a really long chain to wrap around twice. So if you want yours to be shorter, you can make it shorter. I'm not sure how short it would need to be, but it feels really secure like this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make it this way. So we're going to chain 40. So now that we have our chain of 40 with our granny square on one end, we're going to actually go ahead and do one extra chain and cut off the yarn. And we're going to leave maybe like a 6-inch end. Even that might be too much, but I like to have extra. Then we're going to pull it through that last chain and pull it tight. So this is what we're working with right now. We don't want it connected at the end because then we wouldn't be able to weave it through the stitches. So let's go ahead and make the other granny square. That way we have all the pieces and then we'll assemble it all. So we're going to repeat the exact same steps of making a magic ring and then chaining 2. And then you're going to do 4 clusters of 3 double crochets. That way you have an even square with 4 sides and 4 corners. So we're going to go ahead and just repeat what we did for the first one before you started the chain 40. And then I'll meet you back once you have your square done. So I finished my square by slip stitching into the chain 2 that we made at the beginning, creating 4 corners and 4 even sides. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and tie off this square, and then I'm going to go ahead and weave in the ends on this square as well as on this one. We don't want to weave in this tail, of course, at the end of our chain 40 because we're going to use that to sew on this square, if that makes sense. It will in a second. But go ahead and weave in the magic ring ends on both squares. Okay, so now these are the 3 pieces you should have at this point. You should have your granny square with no ends on it. Then you should have your granny square with the chain 40 coming off of it with the tail still attached. You can weave in the magic ring tail on the back like I did. This is the only tail we need at this point. And then, of course, your dice bag. So now at this point, we're going to go ahead and weave our chain 40 around the second row from the top of our dice bag. So to do this, we're going to grab our darning needle and we're going to go ahead and thread the yarn through the needle with this tail. I'm going to go ahead and set this granny square aside for now. This might be a little hard to see since they're the same colors, but I'll do my best. So we're going to pick where we want our drawstring to start at, which doesn't really matter. So we're going to go under the first stitch and over the next one, and then under the next stitch. So it should look something like this. And if you need to do it 1 stitch at a time, that's okay, because it is kind of hard to pull this chain through. And then maybe just leave about 1 inch of chain over here, and then we can even it out once we get all the way around. So from here we can see we went under this stitch, so we're going to go over the next one, and under, and over. And we're just going to keep going under and over all the way around. And then once we get back to this point where our granny square started, so we're going to come under this stitch, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that through, and this is where we want to stop. So they're coming out right beside each other with 1 stitch in between. So now that our yarn is still threaded, we're going to grab our other granny square and we're going to go ahead and sew this on into one of the corners. So you can do this really any way that you want as long as it's secure. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to pick a corner stitch and pull my yarn through. I want to create a knot somehow, so I'm going to pull up a little bit and go around and then through that loop I just made. And then, I gotta be a little careful. This part's a little finicky. There's probably definitely a better way to sew this on. This is just the way I've been doing it. And then I'll pull that tight. So now I have a good little knot there. But I still want to make sure it's a little more secure than that. So I'm going to just do it one more time. Pull through there. And go back and make a loop. There we go. And now I'll just weave in this end into the granny square a few times, and then I'll tie off my yarn, and I'll meet you back. Alrighty, so now that all of our ends are woven in, this is what it should be looking like. And if one side is a little longer than the other, you can pull on it kind of like your hoodie strings and just even it out a little bit. But that is it, and you can put your dice or really whatever you want in here, and it should sit flat. And then whenever you're ready to close it up, you just pull on both of those strings. And then I like to wrap mine around twice like I showed you on the other bag. And then you can close it up nice and tight. And it makes this cute little bag with a flat bottom that sits perfectly on the table while you're playing your dice games. Since there's no dice in here, obviously it's a little flat right now, but once you have something in there, it sits a lot better. But yeah, that is it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed making this bag as much as I enjoyed creating it. I had a blast making it with you today. If you do make any of these, I would love to see them. If you want to tag me at Nebby's Knots on any platform, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!